Okay, today we're going to start Daf Nun Aleph, and it's the second line. Thank Hashem, we're able to learn every day. We're supposed to have a learning. Should have a base of English immediately. One that needs a refuah, should have a refuah. Okay, it starts like this. Ahu Yasam v'Yasayma. It was an orphan boy and girl. What's the page number? Yeah, 51. Yeah, that's probably it. 281. So there was an orphan boy and orphan girl. Dasal Kami de Rava. They come in front of Rava, and well, the boy gets the inheritance, of course, and the girl is supposed to get the sustenance. She doesn't own it. She just gets a stipend for her food. Well, Amalu Rava said, "Hello, liyasim b'shvil yisayman. Give extra for the sustenance of the boy, which they will take out of the estate. In other words, decrease the inheritance for the boy to eat. However, if it's movable objects, if it's not real estate, then they won't do that for the girl. They only take for the girl from the real estate, not from the movable objects. So apparently here there was only movable objects. So metaltalin it's called. So they're going to give sustenance to the boy from his own inheritance. Rava said you should increase what he's getting so that he should be able to feed his sister as well. Well, Amalu Rabbanan L'Rava, the students, I guess, the rabbi said to Rava, I thought you said, Rava, tell the teacher, the master said, that when it comes to real estate, yes, we'll give to the girl. When it comes to the movable objects, the metaltali, you don't use up the metaltalim to feed the girl, whether it's for her food, whether it's for her ksuba. That means the dowry, I think. No, bein la ksuba. Parnasa was the dowry. What would the ksuba be? Well, what was the original? Yeah, but why would the girl be getting the marriage contract? Where was the other statement originally? 1 second. Well, we mentioned this before. I have to go back. I have to find this. Where was the original statement of Rava? Okay, whatever it is, we'll have to figure that out. Amar Lahu, Rava responds that the reason why he's giving extra to the boy, even though the girl should not be receiving, he's giving extra to the boy for the girl, for the sister, even though the girl's not supposed to be receiving for her own sustenance from metaltli, from the movable parts of the estate. Amar Lahu, he says to the students, to the rabbis, let's say the son needed a maidservant to assist him, to do the laundry, to cook the food, to whatever he needs, prepare things. So we're not going to take that's going to be considered what the boy needs. So, and we take from the estate for the needs of the boy. So now his sister will be considered like his servant. And so Kolshkin Hachad the Katarti. Over here you have both. The sister always helps the brother. Plus, it's the sister that needs food. So I guess what it means, dikatarti, is that there was a machlekes if the sister gets fed from the movable objects. So here you at least you have that opinion. I think that's what it means. Plus, you have the fact that the son needs her, so it's like a salary. Okay. Another Gemara. Taner Rabbanan.
What if you want to test it?
They have to estimate what's considered reasonable.
For this guy?
Yeah, probably with what the way he was raised and all of that.
That happened, so.
Right. Say I can't drive a car like that. Like Toyota Corolla. I've never even been in one. Okay. Taner Rabbanan, starting the Bryson. Echad nechasim sheish lamachrayas, v'echad nechasim shein lamachrayas. Whether it's nechasim sheish lamachrayas means real estate. The literal translation means it's possessions that have a lien on them, which is real estate. Or it's possessions that don't have a lien on them. That means it's movable objects. What's the term for movable objects in common law? What is it? What?
You said it's the words personality.
Personalty.
Realty.
Oh, personalty. Okay. So realty and personalty. So then both of them are used very different than the Gemara we just had before from Rava. Rebbe's opinion is that you can use personality to feed the wife and the girls. Real estate, we knew that you can, but personality is the chiddush. Reb Shimon ben Elazar says, the way that we understood it the whole time, that for realty yes, but personality no. Reb Shimon ben Elazar is a student of Reb Meir, probably the same generation as Rebbe. Says nechasim sheyesh lamachrayas, if it's realty, mitzian lebanos min abanim. The sons inherited. There's a lot of cases here, so you follow along these cases. The sons inherited, and we're going to extract from the sons, because this is realty, we're going to extract from the sons items. No, it's not items. It's part of the real estate, or maybe the produce from the real estate, in order to be able to feed the girls. And also labanis min abanis. Let's say there were no sons, and the older girls just took everything, and so we'll extract from the older girls to be able to divide it evenly amongst the sisters. This is not to feed them. This is for Yerusha, because who are they just to take everything?
Are these daughters under age 7 or above? Because that would depend whether or not it's obligation, no?
Yeah. But after he passes away, then the property, it becomes an obligation. Only while he's alive, it wasn't an obligation.
You translate trust.
Nechasim sheyesh lamachrayas means karka. Nechasim she'ein lamachrayas means personality.
There can be. You agree to it. And when someone takes the loan, can't agree to it.
No.
This is just by operation of law.
No. What we're referring to is, let's say a person has, I don't know, Leichter, let's say, candlesticks. So when they're sold, if he had a prior loan, he can't go to the purchaser. The creditor can't go to the purchaser and take it away. But if there was realty, then he can go to the purchaser and take it away. The problem is that the,
Your money, want to be that you're not gonna sell it, you sell it, you sell it to,
uh,
it's subject to.
the problem is the purchaser doesn't know that he has to look into those things. Because he's just thought he bought I don't know, a stereo. You have to look that there was a loan that the guy took, title, things. No, I don't know how you would be able to get it. Stolen property. If it was stolen, then the person loses it because it belonged to someone else. But if there was if he sells it, I guess that you're right. It's called a paitaki. There is such a thing as an paitaki where you can. Okay, talking about the general then.
I don't think it existed back then, but today, if you're gonna sell a piece of real estate, they do like a title search.
Right.
So they look if there's any money owed, and at the time the property is sold,
Right,
the money.
right. So that's only on real estate.
Yeah.
It's not on. They don't do title searches on.
On table.
Right.
Yeah.
Do they do a title search on the car? No. Right.
No, they get, for example, if you're going to sell your car to CarMax, like there's a lien on the title. So they'll satisfy the lien before they pay you off the car.
Oh. Now the shaila is if it's going to be a motorhome. Okay.
But these are things that have titles. A chair or a table won't have titles.
Right.
Counts.
Right. Okay. Next case, ulabanim and abanim. Also, if let's say the older sons took all the inheritance, so the bezdin will make sure that it's divided evenly. The next case is ulabanim min abanais b'nechasim merubin. Remember, we're dealing here with real estate. Real estate could support the daughters of the deceased for sustenance, but it turns out that there are sons also. So the sons come in and they want their inheritance. The sons are allowed to take the inheritance from the same place where the daughters are getting the real estate, as long as there's enough for both. From where the daughters are getting their sustenance, which is real estate, as long as there's enough for both.
Well, sons and
Inheritance.
daughters get the same amount of inheritance, except if you're like a first one.
No, daughters don't inherit,
But they do, but
but they
the
do get sustenance.
That's a little different.
Now, there's an uneven sort of claim to this. Daughters are saying, "Well, don't take anything. We need it all for our food. We don't know." And the sons are saying, "But we got an inheritance here. Let us take." So if it's nechasim merubim, if there's a lot, and it could be divided, that and the food would come from this part, inheritance. So then, good. But if there isn't enough, so then the daughters get for their sustenance, and the sons don't get anything. Not for their sustenance, not for their inheritance.
That's if there's very little amount.
Right, very little amount. And then we say like this, that it's better for the sons to go beg by the doors, by people's houses, than for the daughters to
What
have
is
to go.
this sustenance anyway? It's not necessarily like agriculture, right? It could be like a home, it could be liquidated.
Yeah, but we're talking about that they need regular income to live, the day-to-day
Rent.
rent and
So there's a lot
food.
of overlap here.
Yeah.
With inheritance and sustenance, right?
Well, the sons are coming with a different claim than the daughters are.
Yeah.
They may be coming with the same claim as sustenance, but it doesn't matter. The daughters come first. When it comes to movable property, this is all Reb Shimon ben Elazar's opinion, as opposed to Rebbe. To personality, of course, the inheritance needs to be divided equally. If the older sons or something took, there has to be taken out from them and divided. And also, if there were only daughters, it also needs to be divided equally. And it's taken for the sons away from the daughters. I don't know how the daughters got it in the first place. But you don't take for the daughters when the sons have that property, because the daughters don't get their sustenance off movable objects, off personality. Now, Afagav, now that we conclude the statement, Afagav the Kaiman lan halacha kerebi mechavei, right? Even though we have a halacha that whenever there's a machlekes Rebbe and another individual, like we have here, Rebbe and versus Reb Shimon ben Elazar, halacha Reb Shimon ben Elazar, the halacha goes like Reb Shimon ben Elazar Damar Rava, because Rava has a statement, and I guess we pass him like Rava, who's the later one, halacha kibasrai. Hilchasa mi mekarkoi v'lei mi metaltalei bein l'ksuba bein l'mazeni bein l'parnasa. That the daughters get from the property.
So this movable property is not considered sustenance? It would only
Those
go to
will
the
not,
son.
it will only go to the sons, right? So that's just 1 second. And again over here, the ksuba. The zaini, I understand. Does it really mean his own wife? Ksuba sisha? Maybe it means his own wife. Maybe it means when the wife comes to collect her ksuba, she doesn't collect from metaltalin. She can only collect from karka. Maybe that's what it means, what Rav is saying. His own wife, not his daughters. He doesn't give his daughters a ksuba. He gives his daughters parnasa, which means a dowry. It must be his own wife. Is that what it says in English?
Yeah, the widow.
His widow.
Yeah, sounds like it. There's a comment here also about how the Geonim made a takana that this could be taken from the movable properties also.
Oh, okay. That would be after the Gemara is concluded. They can make other enactments.
Yeah, because I guess it wasn't the same. People didn't own as much real estate as they used to, I guess. Yeah. Most people did not possess land and relied instead on movable objects.
That the Goinim made a takana after the Gemara that they could be sustained from also movable objects. The explanation for that would be that the Zoroasters allowed the Jewish people to own land. So when we lived in Bavel, those in the Gemara times, the Jewish people owned land. So Rava says, remember the Gemara brachas, don't come visit me during Nisan and Tishrei because you have to take care of the fields then. So they owned property. That's how they lived. In the Kala, the Yarche Kala, the month was because they had time off. You know, after you plant, you have to wait. So during that time they could go. But then in the 600s, 700s, the Muslims took over and they didn't allow the Jews to own land. So they became merchants and other things. You know, bankers, they would lend money. So they didn't have the same amount of time. They didn't have the same amount to study. So we have the questions then, how do you divide up your time of the day? It used to be that you would divide the day into 3 parts. Shlish b'Talmud, shlish b'Mikra, shlish b'Mishnah. But you can only do that when you have like months off at a time, and you could divide up your day. But when you only have a few minutes a day, you're busy, you're a merchant. So how do you divide that up into 3 parts? That was the question that the Gainim had to answer. So the Gainim also instituted, this is what Daniel is saying, that if you don't own land, so how do the girls get their sustenance?
Right.
So they said that no, now the girls can take from the movable property as well, because they didn't let the Jews own land. Officially, the Muslims didn't kill the Jews officially, because the Jews were people of the book, and they had some respect for that. Any religion that had a book along with it was considered respected, but they didn't let them own land. The infidels weren't allowed to own land.
The Quran note here is specifically about the Kesuba. I don't know about the daughters, but
Oh, that would be the ksuba. Okay.
Hmm.
Okay.
Question,
I'm just throwing in the historical part.
in English, when they translate sustenance and livelihood, Monet and Parnassa,
Right.
what's the difference?
Mezaining means food for her to survive, and parnasa means the dowry.
Ah,
Yeah, that's the term that we use here in the Gemara for dowry. We call it parnasa. It's not the way we say we ask for. Yeah.
the livelihood.
Right. Okay, we have a Mishnah. Like kasav l'ksuba. Let's say he didn't write a ksuba. So what's the default amount that he would have to give her? Well, Basula gave him a sign of Almana Pneshu tonight, Besdin. It doesn't matter, he still owes her the money. Doesn't have to do with his mistake.
Might as well make a suba if it costs us.
Yeah, he should have made a
Yeah.
ksuba. He didn't. It's her mistake, right? She didn't know. They didn't tell him anything, right? Well, she still gets it. Kasav lasada shavim mana tachas masayim zuz. He does write a ksuba, but he says, "I'm going to give you a field for the ksuba." Now the field turns out is not worth the whole ksuba. It's worth only 100. She's supposed to be getting 200. Or let's say, he doesn't say that all my possessions are going to be indebted towards the subject to the lien for your ksuba. He doesn't say that. It doesn't matter. Chayev shutanai bestin. Even if you left it out, it's still it's implied, even though it doesn't say it. Okay. Like kasavla im tishtabai aprekinach vaisvinach lilintu. Some extra words in here that make this more interesting. He didn't say in the ksuba. I don't know if we have it in our ksubas. I don't think we have this in the ksuba. In the old ksubas, it was supposed to say that if you get captured, I will redeem you and I'll take you back as a wife. Now that would only be if he is the Yisrael, because if he's a kayan, he can't take her back as a wife. Ubekayhenes, and if it was a ksuba for a kayhenes, that means he's a kayan. Ahadrinach lemedinase. It says, I will free you and return you to your country. I guess the airfare, right? So then the boat fare. Okay, it doesn't matter even if he left that out. It's chayev shu tanai bestin. It's a tanai bestin anyway. Even though he didn't write it, it's he has to do it.
At least it necessarily needed some type of.
Yeah, which was. Yeah, it means it's instituted by the sages. Nishbis, if she gets captured, chayav liftaisa. He has to redeem her. Let's say all of a sudden she gets captured. And he says, you know what? I'm out of here. Here's your get. Very quickly. And here's the ksuba as well. Try to figure out to use it to redeem yourself. So he's not allowed to do that. His obligation to redeem her doesn't get taken away by him like quickly divorcing her. He has to redeem her. However, Laksa, let she gets ill, Chayav l'repaisa, he has to pay for her doctor bills. Amar harigitu ksubasa tirpes atzma rashai. When it comes to the doctor bills, he's allowed to divorce her, give her a ksuba, and she has to heal herself.
Wow.
Yeah.
Divorce or divorce.
He's allowed to.
Why would you want to do that?
I don't know. He doesn't want to be. He doesn't want her as a wife anymore.
He gives her a get.
He gives her a get, and he gives her all the money that he owes her, but then she has to pay for her own doctor bills.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Can you marry her again?
It's highly unlikely she's going to go for him, but.
Oh, he's a sick millionaire or something. He pays for her own doctor bills.
Right. Okay. Mani. Who's the author of our Mishnah? So we had a bunch of things going on in the Mishnah. One of them is that the ksuba is there no matter what. In other words, the value of the ksuba is there even if it's left out. The Gemara says Rameir. It sounds like it's Rameir. Rameir's opinion is that anyone that I guess writes the ksuba for less than the appropriate amount, then the marriage is like invalid. It's bilas nus. It's not he's living with her just without, it wasn't appropriate. Licentious activity. So that's what we said in our Mishnah, that the ksuba is automatically masayim. It has to be masayim. It has to be the what was instituted. Di Rabbi Yehuda, because if it would be Rabbi Yehuda has a way out of this. Ratza kaisav lebesula shtar shel masayim. Rabbi Yehuda says that if he wants, he can write the ksuba for 200, which is correct. This is a trick. She writes back in the document immediately that I forgive you for 100, or I received 100 already. So she's Michael 100, and that's considered acceptable according to Rabbi Yehuda. And she can do that if she's a widow. The ksuba was written accurate, and she writes back that here's a receipt for 50.
Oh.
And that's acceptable. Now in our Mishnah, we said that it's automatically 200. If he wrote a field of the less than that, it's invalid. He has to give her 200, right? If he says, I'm going to give you the field in the ksuba, that's only worth 100. Can't be Rabbi Yehuda's view. Rabbi Yehuda would accept that. We'll see after. Ema Seifa, let's go further. Okay, so if it's the view of Reb Meir, let's read the end of the Mishnah. Kasav lasad shavim manav tachas masayim zuz leikasav kol nechasim dislei achrayin leksubase chayiv shutanai bestin. If he doesn't write that all my property has a lien on it, to be able to pay up your ksuba, it doesn't matter because that's automatically takes place, that there's a lien on the property. The Gemara says that's Asan Rabbi Yehuda, the Marchais to Sefer. If you find a document that doesn't say in it that there's a lien on the property, Rabbi Yehuda says that that's just a mistake of the scribal error. He left it out, but of course he meant that there should be a lien on the property. The Reb Meir, because if it would be Reb Meir, Reb Meir says, Achrayas lavta Seiferu. It's not a mistake. If it doesn't say in the document, talking about loans over here, if there's a document that says that Ruvain owes Shimon money, and it doesn't say that there's a lien on Ruvain's property to pay that back. So Machlekes Reb Meir and Rabbi Yehuda, if there is a lien, automatically there's a lien. According to Reb Meir, there's no lien. Didn't say it. There's no lien. According to Rabbi Yehuda, there is a lien on the property. Well, the Tanan, we have this in the Mishnah. It goes like this: Matzah Shtari Chayv. Let's say someone finds documents of debt, right? Finds a document of a chayv, of a debt. Im yesh behem achrayas nechasim, if it's written in it that there's a lien on the property, lo yachzer, you should not return it to the lender. Why? Because that means the lender is going to go to the borrower and take the money, but that's not our problem. Our problem is he may go not to the borrower, but he may go to the purchaser of fields off the borrower and take the properties. So Bezdin Ephraim, because Bezdin is going to collect other properties that have been sold. And we're talking about over here that even if the borrower admits that he owes money, you still don't return it to the lender, because we suspect that maybe there's a conspiracy going on between the lender and the borrower to get someone else in trouble, to take away the property that the borrower had already sold, and they're going to split the proceeds of that property. And the guy's gonna come back to the borrower for his money. He'll say, yeah, I don't have it. So you can't return it. Now, this is talking about if it's written in it, achrayas nechasim. Ein ben achrayas nechasim, if it doesn't say clearly in the document that there's a lien on the property, then yachzer, then you can return it. Because who's gonna lose out over here? Only the borrower, and the borrower admits that he owes the money. Shane Besdin from him because Besdin won't go to a purchaser to take it out because it doesn't say it in. That's different Reb Meir. That's Reb Meir's view. He says that if it doesn't say it, it's not a mistake. It doesn't say it because it doesn't mean it. The Chachamim over here is Reb Yehuda. Reb Yehuda's view is that you can never return a document that was lost because you're assisting in this conspiracy. Even if it doesn't say in it that there's achrayas, even if it doesn't say in it that there's achrayas, we still have a concern that maybe there's a conspiracy going on that they're going to try to take. Yeah. Okay. The problem now is that the Gemara spells it out. Reish Reb Meir v'Sefer Reb Yehuda. The Reish is Reb Meir that says the Kesubos is automatically 200 no matter what. The middle case is Reb Yehuda that says that achrayas is Torah Sefer, that there's a lien on the property even if it doesn't say it. So it's inconsistent. The Mishnah, it's taking one opinion for the Reish, it's taking another opinion for the Sefer. So the Gemara says, maybe we can say that it is Reb Meir. V'shani leila Reb Meir ben Ksuba l'shtari. Reb Meir is the difference between the Ksuba, where over there we say that there's achrayas automatically, and by a regular debt, he doesn't say that there's achrayas. There's a lien on the property automatically. The Ksuba gets a lien automatically. Let's say, and therefore the whole Mishnah could be Reb Meir. Our Mishnah says, first of all, that the Kesubos is automatically 200 no matter what. That's Reb Meir's view. Our Mishnah says that there's achrayas on the husband's property. There's a lien on the property automatically, even if it doesn't say it. That we thought that was Rabbi Yehuda's view, but really it could be Reb Meir because Reb Meir makes a difference between a debt and the Kesub. Where it says Mishanile, does he make that difference? But we have a brisa that says the following: Chamisha goivin mina mechurarin. There's 5 types of collections that are only done from property that doesn't have a lien on it. They're only done from property that's directly from the person that owes it, not from the purchaser of that property. What are those things? Ve'eluhein. They are. I'm not sure how to divide the 5. There's different ways. There's a bunch of details here. So, which one goes under what category? It says Peres or Shvach Peres. Okay, what happened was like this: someone had a property and it gets stolen. The robber, that steals the property. I don't know how he steals the property. I guess someone was. The guy was out of town and he moves in and sells it to someone else. Anyway.
Has to return it and pay the other half.
So 1 second. He sells it to another guy. It used to belong to Shimon. The robber stole it, sells it to Ruvain. Ruvain does all types of improvements in it, puts in a lot of money into the property, makes it much better. Okay, comes along, Shimon wants the property back. So when he takes it back,
Yes, they don't have
he gets it back. He gets back the whole property. But what about, of course, it's his. What about all the improvements that were done? So you go to the robber, and he wants, and from the robber, he takes the principal from his own properties. The robber has properties. He was the seller, right? He takes the principal from his own. No, I'm sorry. He can take the principal from any properties that this robber had, even if they're sold off already. When it comes to the improvements that he put in, that he can only take from the robber himself. He can't go to the sold properties to get his money that he improved. Why? Because it's impossible for the purchaser to know the extent of the debts that are going to come to the robber because of other people's improvements. They can know that he sold a field that has achrayas, and maybe it's not going to come back, but they don't know how much money the purchaser is going to put in. So those improvements, the peiros that come from that field that the guy's losing, and the shvach peiros, whatever how it's divided up, the improvements that he put into the property, so that he can only take from the person himself, not with things that had a lien on them that were sold, right? Okay, also someone that accepted on himself to support his wife's children. He's marrying a woman that has children. So when they come to take their food, when they come for their sustenance, they can only take from his property. They can't take from property that's been sold off. Another thing, the get chayv shem ba'achrayas. Who would hold this? A get means a shtar over here, a document. The word get usually mean the divorce, but it also means a regular document. So if there was a document of a debt that does not say in it that there's a lien, he can only collect, right? Shimon can only collect from Ruvain only from the properties that Ruvain has under his possession, not things that he sold off.
Right, that's what I think.
Because it doesn't say it in it. Now, who holds that? Reb Meir. Because Reb Yehuda would say, Achrayas ta sefer. It's a mistake that it doesn't say it. Well, let's go on. The next case says, Ksuba sisha shem b'achrayas, and also a ksuba. You can only collect the ksuba from the husband's own properties, not properties that he sold off. Okay, you see that Reb Meir holds that a ksuba also doesn't have achrayas, if it doesn't say it. You tried to tell me that Reb Meir would make a difference between a regular debt. That achrayas, the fact that it doesn't say it is not a mistake. It's serious. But the fact that the ksuba doesn't say it, that is a mistake. We have a brisa that says that he says the same thing by both, that it's not considered a mistake. So we don't have our answer to the Mishnah. Who is the author of the Mishnah? It sounds like it's Reb Meir when it says the ksuba is 200, but it sounds like it's Reb Yehuda when it says that the achrayas is a mistake if it doesn't say it. We could go both ways over here. We can explain that the Mishnah is fully Reb Meir. We can explain the Mishnah is fully Reb Yehuda. You could say it's Reb Yehuda. Hasam kasvales kabalti achale kasvales kabalti. You probably noticed this. I had to go over it quickly so that you shouldn't catch this point, or else the whole question would have been to keep you in the dark. When we introduced Reb Yehuda before, and we said Reb Yehuda's view that the ksuba is not really 200, doesn't always have to be 200.
Yeah.
Reb Yehuda never really said the ksuba doesn't have to be 200. He says the ksuba is 200.
Well, it's for
But she was Michael 100.
Right.
So when do we say our Mishnah is really Reb Yehuda? The ksuba is 200. When does Reb Yehuda say the ksuba doesn't have to be 200 if she was Michael 100? But here she was never Michael 100. The guy is telling her that it's only 100. That doesn't work. Even Rabbi Yehuda would agree it doesn't work.
Doesn't it depend if she's a psula or not?
Yeah, we're talking about for the basula, and for the almana it needs to be 100 and not 50. But it could be 50 according to our Mishnah if she would have been Michael, the other 50 or the other 100. Okay. Iba Yisayim Reb Meir. If you want, we could say it's Reb Meir, my chayev, when it says that if he didn't write achrayas in the ksuba, he still has to pay it. We didn't say that you can go take it from the sold properties. Said that he has to pay it from the properties that he still owns. That's a little surprising that that's what it would mean, because it sounded like it was coming to tell you that it's there anyway. But now we're saying it's not there. It's the opinion of Reb Meir that achrayas is not a mistake. If it doesn't say achrayas in the ksuba, it's not a mistake. But he still has it. He still owes it. And if he has property, you take from him. Okay. So the whole Mishnah could be Reb Meir in that case. Like Kasav Love, he didn't write that he's going to redeem her. Amar Avu de Shmuel. Shmuel's father. Listen to this. He says, Eishes Yisrael shenensa asura labayla. If there's a Jewish woman married to a Yisrael and she's raped. Now the rule is that if a woman's raped, she's permitted to go back to her husband. Not considered like she committed adultery.
Unless the husband's a Kohen.
Unless the husband's a Kohen.
Right.
Now comes along Avuah de Shmuel and say, how do you know that there wasn't consent somewhere in middle of the rape? She started to enjoy it. And although at the beginning she was forced, but somewhere in middle, she felt the pleasure and she was enjoying it. So maybe this is considered not raped all the way through. Maybe in the middle it was it switched the status. Avuah de Shmuel says that she's prohibited to her husband. Esvei Rav l'Avuah de Shmuel. We have a conversation between Rav and Shmuel's father. He has a question like this. It says, Im tishtabai. It says in the Mishnah that if you forgot to write in the Kesubos, Im tishtabai, if you get taken captive, Afrakinach v'svinach li'intu. I'll redeem you and I'll return you as a wife. How's he taking her back as a wife? Maybe she was raped, and in the middle, she started to enjoy it. It's tchilasa ba'inus v'seifa baratzin. At the end was willingly, and she should be prohibited to the husband. Ishtik.
Bad offspring from that relationship would be a mamzer.
Yeah, but usually we say that Rav Bilas telling Babal that most of the relations were from the husband, and we don't say that the child is a mamzer just because a woman has adultery, commits adultery. We say that the child is from the husband, unless the husband was away for 12 months.
Are you saying like if the husband was married? and
No.
they had this illicit relationship with them there?
No, if the husband was out of town for more than 12 months, it's impossible that the child came from him. Then we'd say the child's a mamzer. But otherwise, we say that Rav Bilas telling Babal, it's the child, the conception came from the father. Just because she had committed adultery doesn't mean that's the child. Well, you're asking about the 12 months? Oh, okay, yeah. Ishtik means he doesn't respond. So Kari Rav aled Avuah de Shmuel. Rav says about Shmuel's father, Sarim Atzru b'milim, the prince stops his words. Bekaf yasima lefiyam, and he put his hands over his mouth. In other words, he refrained from answering. Mayas leila meimar. What could he have answered that he didn't answer? B'shvua yikilu. Could have said that the comparison is not a perfect comparison. Rav's question is not really what Avuah de Shmuel was talking about. Avuah de Shmuel was talking about a case of rape. Rav is talking about a case of a captive. By the case of the captive, he's going to take her back. There's two questions. First of all, was she raped at all? We don't know. Second of all, even if she was raped, was there consent somewhere in the middle? In the middle of the. So for that, we say she goes back to the husband. But in the case of Avuah de Shmuel, it was a case of rape. We don't have a first question, was there rape? We know there was rape. Question is only one question. So we could have said, Avuah de Shmuel could have said, well, by Shvuya Hekila, we're more lenient over there. We don't even know if anything happened. Okay. Well, Avuah de Shmuel, according to Shmuel's father, we have a psukim in the Torah that say that if she calls out in the city, it's rape, nothing happens to her, or whatever. We know that she's allowed to go back to the husband. How do we have that case according to Avuah de Shmuel? Shmuel says, the Edom say that she was screaming the entire time. So then she's allowed to go back to the husband. But if she was only screaming at the beginning, So then we don't know what happened in the middle.
I mean, usually you don't know if she was screaming.
Video.
Well, here, if you have witnesses, if she was screaming the whole time, then we know that it was rape. Okay,
What person-
Yeah, but in the Torah, it says, right, that if there was nobody there, we assume that it was rape.
right. Basada, what does it say over there?
Because it wouldn't have helped her to scream. There
Right.
was nobody there.
Yeah, I guess it means no one came to help, right?
Screen.
Uh-huh.
Not necessarily.
Uh-huh.
She could scream for help. And no one will be there.
Someplace where no one.
She doesn't know that.
Right.
Maybe someone's. They're not in view. I don't know.
I've Nassan asked if a woman screams and no one hears her, doesn't make a sound.
It's hilarious.
Okay, so Upliga de Rava, and this argues on what Rava says. Dama Rava kol shetchilasa ba'inus v'seif baratzin afilu hi imeres hanichulai shel malilai nizkak la hi seichartai. It's still muteres. Let me explain. My time a yetzer albasha. Well, Rava has a much more lenient view than Abu Shmuel. Rava's view goes like this. He says if she was raped, even if in the middle, they come to rescue her. And she says, no, leave him alone. This is enjoyable. So it's still considered rape. Because, or if she makes a comment like this, if he wouldn't have raped me, I would have gone and looked for him, I would have gone and hired him. So it's still considered rape. And it's not considered that there was consent. The reason is because once they started the act, then it's sort of like not in her control, and it's not considered that she got into this willingly. She got into this, she was coerced, she was forced to get into it. Now it's already not really up to her. It's called Yetzer Albasha. The Yetzer Hara takes over. Yeah, it's a much more lenient view than Abu Shmuel. Tani Kavasei de Rava. We have a support for Rava. It says V'hilai Nitbasa. If she wasn't forced, asura, then she's forbidden to her husband. This is by the Saita, right? Ha nitbasa, but if she is forced, muteres, then she's permitted back to her husband. And there's another woman that even if she's not forced, she's also permissible. Ve'ezu, what is this? If it started with being forced, and then in the middle she did so willingly, so then that's also permitted to her husband. We have a brisa clearly that supports a later statement of Rava. Tani Yidach, we have another brisa. If she wasn't forced, then she's prohibited to her husband. But if she was forced, she's permissible. But we do have another case where even if she's forced, she's prohibited. What is this? Eshes Kayan. This is the wife of a Kayan, that even if she's raped, she's still prohibited to her husband. Amar Rav Yehuda, Amar Shmuel, Mishum Rav Yishmael. Rav Yehuda. Oh, I'm so sorry. Let me leave it over here. I didn't see the time. Okay. Amar Rav Yehuda, Amar Shmuel. Okay. Have a good Shabbos, everyone. Chodesh Tov.
Thank you. Have a good show.
Have a good Shabbos.
Tomorrow's
Tonight.
Oh, tonight.
Tonight.
Right.
I'm sorry. Yeah.
Yates, other does,